So our chapter 2 is mainly over religion in public schools and the do's and don'ts and all the court cases that relate to religions and the decisions from the courts relating to public schools. The First Amendment serves as the basis for delineating certain individual religious rights and freedoms, as well as governmental prohibitions regarding religion. The First Amendment to the United States states, Congress shall make no laws respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or of the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. So we're going to focus on the freedom of religion in chapter 2.
When the initial intent of the First Amendment prohibited Congress from making laws supporting religion or prohibiting the rights of individuals to exercise their religious rights, the United States Supreme Court, in a compelling decision, Cantwell versus Connecticut, held that this prohibition aimed at Congress also applied to the states as well.
The First Amendment contains two essential clauses regarding religion, the Establishment Clause and the Free Exercise Clause. The Establishment Clause prohibits the state from passing laws that aid a religion or show preference of one religion over another.
The Free Exercise Clause prohibits the state from interfering with individual religious freedoms. The combined effect of these two clauses compels public schools as state agencies to maintain a neutral position regarding religious matters in their daily operations. This means that like our schools cannot be pushing religion and we cannot be inhibiting religion.
The U.S. Supreme Court held in the Shemp and Murray cases that school speech and Bible reading is unconstitutional. So like we said, we would talk about some of the court cases, and this was one of them.
Silent prayer and meditation. The United States Supreme Court in 1985 responded to silent meditation and prayer by ruling the Wallace and Jeffrey case that a period of silence set aside from meditation or voluntary prayer in a public school is in violation of the First Amendment.
So, aid to parochial schools. In cases where evidence reveals that the aid directly benefited the child rather than the parochial school, courts have been permissive, allowing certain types of aid under the child benefit theory. So this allowed funding to go to parochial schools as long as it was benefiting the child and not the schools.
So this theory is valid if parochial children are the primary beneficiaries of a public supported service provided for all children. On the other side, if the aid serves to primarily benefit parochial schools, it will be deemed impermissible and a violation of the First Amendment.
Lemon and versus Kurtzman and Early versus DeCenso case are perhaps the most significant early cases involving state aid to parochial schools. These cases arose when Rhode Island and Pennsylvania laws providing assistance to parochial schools, their students and teachers were challenged by various citizens and the taxpayers.
The U.S. Supreme Court subsequently held that a law providing a state subsidy for non-public school teachers' salaries is unconstitutional, even when the funds are paid only to teachers of secular subjects.
Religious symbols. Public schools may not display religious exhibits or other visual materials. And the second part talks about how it might be appropriate for teachers to explain and acknowledge the holidays and cultures of different things if you are teaching certain units or about certain subjects, as long as it is serving a purpose towards your education.
School sponsored activities, commencement exercises, and any type of school-sponsored prayer at athletic contests is deemed to be a violation of the First Amendment. The principle of neutrality mandates that public schools remain neutral in all matters of relating to religion.
Prayer at athletic contests. Prohibition of prayer at school events was given a major thrust when the U.S. Supreme Court, in a 6-3 ruling in Santa Fe Independent School District versus Jane Doe, ban student-led prayer at athletic contests, graduations, and other school-sponsored events.
The use of school facilities by religious student groups. Congress attempted to talk about the facility use when it passed the Equal Access Act in 1984 for the purpose of providing student religious clubs equal opportunities to access high school facilities as other non-curricular clubs enjoyed.
Under the federal statute, it is unlawful for any public secondary school that has created a limited open forum to deny access to student-initiated groups on the basis of religion, political, or philosophical content of their speech. A limited open forum exists when an administrator allows one or more non-curricular related student groups to meet on a school premises during non-instructional time.
Religious activities and holiday programs. The observance of holy days by public schools is clearly an unconstitutional activity if conducted in a devotional atmosphere. The First Amendment prohibits states from either aiding religion or showing preference of one religion over another.
Along with that, public schools may not celebrate religious holidays. There should be no worship or devotional services, religious pageants, or plays of any nature held in school. However, certain programs may be conducted if there is a clear purpose.
Distribution of religious materials. Public schools personnel are not permitted to distribute religious materials on school premises. Such practices would be a clear violation of the Establishment Clause.
Public school officials also may not allow religious groups to distribute religious materials on school grounds. Support of such practices would suggest that the school embraces religion and could suggest preference of one religion over another, which then violates the First Amendment.
Teaching the Bible in public schools. The Bible may be taught in public schools if it is not offered for religious purposes, and it may be taught to facilitate an understanding of the best literary works, historical works, as well as contemporary speech and writing. So like we talked about before, as long as it serves a purpose towards education.
Bible teaching may not be associated with any form of worship and must be taught objectively as a component of a secular program.
Intelligent design. Intelligent design is a controversial concept which suggests that certain features of the universe, including living things, exhibit characteristics of a product derived from an intelligent cause rather than natural selection. In this chapter, we're going to start seeing a lot more stuff about the courts deciding what is religious versus what is scientific.
To go along with that, supporters of this theory believe that the ultimate designer of living things is God, and a district court held that it is unconstitutional to teach intelligent design in public schools.
Theory of evolution. Evolution theory suggests that all life is related and has descended from a common ancestor. Historically, this theory had been banned from public schools curriculum based on the view that it conflicts with the biblical version of creation.
In recent times, the U.S. Supreme Court prevented lawmakers from banning it and holding that evolution is a science rather than a secular religion, which is what I mentioned before. So they ruled that science is based on evidence and all these other things, and so it does not fit under the umbrella of religion.
The use of religious garb by school personnel. The wearing of religious garb by public school teachers raises the issue as to whether such dress creates a sectarian influence in the classroom. Many state statutes prohibit public teachers from wearing religious garb in the classroom.
Pledge of Allegiance. In the West Virginia Burnett case, in the U.S. Supreme Court held that public school officials may not require students to salute and pledge allegiance to the flag. It must be strictly voluntary.
That's the end of our chapter 2. The main ideas here that we took from it, because we talked before we started here, is the school should always remain neutral. We should not be inhibiting religion or we should not be promoting it.